Here are 5 important things that are missing in toxic families. In first place, we have autonomy. In a toxic family, especially a narcissistic family system, there's the narcissist, the head narcissist, and everybody else is a pet. The narcissist thinks of everybody else as pets. So when you show autonomy, it's seen as disrespect. It's seen as you are sick, something is wrong with you, and yet you're just your own human being. They will try to tell you what to do in your life, who to marry, what career to follow, where to live. They could literally throw a fit because you decided to live in one place and not another place. It's control. The issue is, why is a pet making their own decisions? The second thing that's missing in these families is boundaries. Since you're a pet, how can you have boundaries? The narcissist looks at you, the toxic people in the family look at you and think, how dare you tell me not to do this thing that I want to do? How dare you block me from doing this thing I want to do to you? You can't have boundaries. Boundaries are seen as disrespect in these families. The other funny thing about this is there are certain cultures, African culture being one of them, I'm sure there's other cultures, that function like narcissistic families. You can't have boundaries and you can't have autonomy. Your parents are like gods. You must worship them and do whatever they say, even if they're telling you to jump into the fire. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to African cultures and family. There's a lot of cruelty that happens in these families that people do not realize as cruelty. They label it as culture. But that's a conversation for another day. I'm sure this exists in other cultures as well. I've heard other people talking about their families who are from different cultures. I obviously can't speak on that because that's not my culture. The third thing that is missing in narcissistic family systems is opinions. Toxic families can't fathom the fact that you can have an opinion. So when you have an opinion, they think you borrowed it from someone else. So you may not even have realized that the disagreement you were having with your toxic family members wasn't based on the actual issue. Disagreement was stemming from you having an opinion and them thinking in their head you shouldn't have an opinion. The next thing that's missing in these families is accountability. Accountability, in fact, it's one-sided accountability. The non-narcissistic people, the non-toxic people always have to take accountability. They also take blame for things they didn't actually do. The narcissist never takes accountability. They can break your bone and say you made them break your bone. The accountability is one-sided. It's bullies versus the bullied. The bullied have to take accountability. The bullies never take accountability. Last, but certainly not least, there is lack of consistency and predictability. These two things create safety. So if you grow up in a family where there's no consistency and there's no predictability, you grew up in an unsafe environment, and this is damaging for brain development in children. This is absolutely damaging. The way your brain developed is very different from the way someone else's brain developed who grew up in a healthy family. I talk about this in my series, There's No Healing Without Hate, that these environments actually disadvantage you greatly and people don't realize it. With the lack of consistency, there's always rules changing. People's behavior is different depending on their temperature. Rules don't apply to everyone, or they can apply today, tomorrow they don't apply. They can apply to you today, tomorrow they don't apply. The bullies of the family don't follow the rules. They get to do whatever they want. These families are absolutely damaging. The number one thing they affect is your level of self-esteem and your level of self-trust. And those two things determine your trajectory in life, determine how far you will go. So if you realize that you grew up in a family like this, you need to dedicate time in healing and dealing with this I have resources, my series on TikTok, There's No Healing Without Hate, the 10 Orders of Self-Preservation. You really have to dedicate time dealing with these things because it will affect you for the rest of your life. These people who ingrained these behaviors in you already lived their youth. They continue to live their lives. They will always be bullies. They will always feel justified to be horrible human beings. They will never understand they're being horrible to you. They will always say you are the problem. And you just have to accept this fact and move on and start working on yourself. This is how toxic families are. You absolutely have to work on your self-esteem, you have to work on your self-trust, and you have to stand on your feet and claim your autonomy back. This sort of thing can also happen even in a family that you create. If your partner is narcissistic, they infantilize you. They also make you into a pet, basically, as the wife, the partner. This is a serious thing that you need to deal with. You need to work on yourself, solidify your boundaries, and work on yourself. Because these people thrive on you being down, on you having low self-esteem, no self-trust, on you not having your own thoughts, your own opinions, on you doubting yourself. And you don't want to get to the end of your life and realize, I would have never wanted to do this. I would have never wanted to be here. I spent most of my life trying to explain myself, taking blame for things I didn't do. You only have this one life. You only have this one life. Once lost, you can't get it back. It's a shame that the people you grew up around could not understand you. They were not willing to understand you. They think you're an infant. When you were a child, they probably parentified you. That's how these families work. They never accept the stage you are at in life. They always want to put you in a position where they're subjugating you and abusing you. You need to understand that's the situation you grew up in and grow from it. Don't let it continue to affect your future. The name is Shido. I'm your personal emotional intelligence detective. Always keeping it real. Folklore talk. You won't regret it.